Okay, so, hey, here's a little update, So today, around 10 o'clock in the morning, I get a phone call. And it's a probation officer. So, I ask her, right, she's like, she's asking me all this updated information and stuff, I'm telling her, well, don't know why you're asking me this information. I'm not on probation, and I tell her, I'm like, did you ever find the, information I asked for, like placing me on probation? Because I've been told that I'm not, and she's like, well, no, I haven't found any information, blah, 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 but you're on, pretrial conditions. I'm like, yes, my pretrial conditions were, that I turned in my unlawfully, well, basically, I turned in my firearms that were in Vermont through the unlawful order. Okay, so, yeah, once again, I was legal in Vermont. Springfield police went to Vermont and illegally confiscated my firearms through a Massachusetts judge's order allowing them to go to Vermont, which made no sense. Okay, so, she's like, well, you never contacted me on October 1st to check in. And so I told her, I'm like, well, yeah, I did check in. I'm like, I sent you a text message on October 1st. And also I was in court and I checked in with the probation office as well. Yeah, I sent the text message just so she couldn't pull any of this BS. And she's like, oh, well, yeah, just give me a hard time, Remember, I've never been found guilty of any criminal offense, so why the hell would I be on probation? And then she starts asking, then she's like this, well, are you working? I'm like, yes, I'm working. She's like, well, where are you working at? I'm like, this is none of your concern. And I'd rather not tell you where I work because I do not trust that the probation department is an unbiased, party to this, in this matter. And she's like, well, yes, it is. I'm like, she's like, yes, we're unbiased. I'm like, no, you're not. And then I went in and told her what happened in Palmer District Court, how I had to get a judge's order to make them provide me with the criminal record for the alleged victim in the case, as well as the alleged witnesses in the case. And this information, if you're not aware, is actually what's considered automatic discovery. So I'm not supposed to even have to ask them for this information. They're just supposed to automatically provide it. So, no, they didn't automatically provide it. I had to get a judge's order. I went into the probation office. They refused to give it even with the judge's order, which meant that I had to go back in front of the judge and then back into the probation office, right? And then this time, they gave me the information from the the 3 or 4 alleged witnesses, but they said that the alleged victim had no criminal record. And remember, this girl in this case is a liar, So I'm sitting there, okay, in the probation office, right, in Palmer District Court. I'm like, yeah, this person has a criminal record. And we're going back and forth, and they're telling me that this person doesn't have a criminal record at all. I'm like, no, this person is a convicted felon. A felon. Not just one felony, but several felonies. And they're like, no, she doesn't have a felony. She's not a felon. She has no criminal record, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, I unzip my bag, take out the paperwork, and I say, these 2 cases right here, 2 separate cases, are I think it was 3 or 4 different felonies that she was found guilty of. And they're like, well, let's see. So I go back over to their little office away from me. And then they come back about 5 minutes later and goes, oh, we're sorry, we found these records. Yeah. She is a convicted felon. Here's the records. I'm like, okay, and remember, they handed me just documents saying that she was found guilty of, the felonies that she was found guilty of. Off the top of my head, what I believe they were was she lit a car on fire in order to scam her insurance. But not only that, but she actually called the police and had actually falsified a break-in to her apartment. So, false report to the police of breaking and entering in her apartment. She claimed that 2 diamond rings were stolen, $300 in cash. She claims that someone stole her car keys, and then they lit her car on fire and all this other stuff. And oh yeah, it's a big cluster situation. But yeah, she was found guilty of like 3 felonies and a misdemeanor for that. 2 separate police departments. And okay, but I only know of all of the details because I investigated her myself and went to the police departments and had the police departments give me copies of their files. Because the courthouse that all took place in, they only have the cover sheets. They deleted all of the rest of the files. So thank God I have that. Which proves that she's lying back then. This woman's basically lied to the police nonstop in the courts, nonstop for the past 20 years or so. That's what I'm dealing with, go figure. But anyways, this right here, the probation department, not having that information when, come on, we all know they had the information. But yep, they claimed it didn't exist. I proved that it exists, and they provided me what I provided them with. Okay. And then I got a probation officer saying I'm on probation when I'm not on probation because, as everyone knows, you only get put on probation after you're found guilty or take a plea bargain in a case. And in this case, the Springfield case, where, once again, they wanted me to turn in my lawfully owned firearms. I refused. They wanted me to turn in my firearm license, which I did not have a firearm license in Massachusetts to give them. So I am facing charges in this case with a probation officer attached to me for having firearms where I was legal to, in Vermont, not in Massachusetts. My firearm license in Massachusetts was expired, so I had no firearm license to actually provide the Springfield Police Department. And the district attorney in this case has offered me pretrial probation as a way to end the case with a not guilty plea attached, but I refuse to take that because I'm taking this to a jury trial, which is scheduled for February 1st. So let's see, I'm on pretrial probation, the probation officer tells me, even though I never agreed to be on pretrial probation with the assistant district attorney, nor has the judge ordered me on pretrial probation. So if you look at this is just Massachusetts completely being screwed up like they have been, especially with me, seeing that I'm facing 3 separate cases right now. And yet when I ask them to give me the paperwork that puts me on pretrial probation, they can't because there is no paperwork putting me on pretrial probation. So ask yourself this: how can someone be on pretrial probation if there's no order putting the person on pretrial probation? And yes, like the main part about this is if you don't check in and stuff like that, you can have your probation violated, which means that that's another charge, and they can hold you without a right to bail because you're in violation of a probation agreement. So that's something major that you really need to look at and think about. Is being on probation is actually a major issue, especially when you're not supposed to be on probation, because you can go to jail for violation of probation. And when they can't provide you the paperwork, but they give you a probation officer, and I guess the woman's name is like Burke, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe that there's either a court clerk, I believe there's a clerk magistrate that's last name is Burke. And everyone knows in Massachusetts, most of these state positions are filled by, nepotism. So there's a very good chance that this woman is related to the clerk magistrate. And you really got to wonder. Okay, well, that's all for now. I'm going to be doing some more videos, about other things that have happened and gone down. Okay, have a great day.